Hey people, I got some good stuff here and I'm fixing to feed you the whole apple tree. Not just a bite of the apple, we're going to get the whole tree down. YouTube's trying to shut down my main channel, so this is going up on my backup. So if everybody could share this after you watch it, I know you're going to love it. And it's going to be the best biblical information you've ever heard. You're going to read it for yourself out of the Greek, out of the Hebrew, and out of the Coptic signs. So this story starts in the Garden of Eden in Mesopotamia. Except this isn't Mesopotamia. Meso, it says in the midst, but usually it just means in the middle, in between. And Potamia means the river. Patamos, a river, torrent, a stream. And so it was in the middle between the stream. So this is a Mesopotamia, but it's not the Mesopotamia. The Mesopotamia we're talking about is here. And it's going to show it in all the Greek and the Hebrew writings, and they're all going to match up with the ancient Egyptian. But this is the ancient Garden of Eden. You see, this is nothing but a huge garden. Every plot is planted. It's a huge garden. All the way out to the foot. There's nothing but garden here. This entire area between the rivers, Mesopotamia. So this is the Garden of Eden right here. And so when it starts talking about the names of these rivers, they're going to be called Anoma. And the first one is the Fishon. And so a nome, a nomos, is a district. Ancient Egypt. And they cut it up in districts. It's talking about the borders around it. And this is going to be the first one they're talking about, is this Fishon. This is the nome, the share of property. And so what happened was there was an ice age, and everybody came down here, and they borrowed property. They sharecropped with Egypt. In Egypt, Giza was taken half. And this was all different nations in all these nomes sharecropping. And this is what the story's about. So I'm going to read here in this apocalyptic interlinear Bible. But I'm going to keep this old Byzantine here, because there's a bunch of changes. But in this Byzantine Bible, it starts at 4, the creation of man. So this is auth, and it's where your word author come from. The author you think of is the one that wrote the book you're reading, and the book is the knowledge, and that's it. The A, the knowledge with WTH, the knowledge with he, the by blows, if by blows is a commentator, telling you about the fight, blow by blow. And so what this by blow means is in this order, blow by blow. The auth, the by blows, the jinn, the turnings, those are on of, the hour, the sky of. And this means, the turning of the planets and the stars, the old book of hours. And it's, R-O-U-R-R, sky of. They're missing some vowel points in here, and it's easier to read down here. But you can see this is, and goes out. And goes out again to. The writings, the by blows, the jinn, the machine turns those. Hour on of, the hour on of, the hour on. The sun is sitting in a position in the sky, it tells you the hour on of. and goes out again too. And so this is telling a story, but it's poetry telling about the time. And so the three main characters in here, on thereupon is where they are, on the sky thereupon, and Zeus. And so Zeus isn't life, Zeus is death. Zeus is the Z, the cut the end has. And then on their oppose, is the one opposing is one on the opposite side of the sun. The planets on the opposite side of the sun are opposing us, and that's what Zeus is. When a planet travels behind the sun, that's Zeus, and when they're opposing, that's what causes a suction, and that's what causes earthquakes. And the other player is Pan, and Pan isn't every, and Pan isn't all. Pan is around. A pan girl gets around. When you're panning for gold, you swish the river bottom around in your pan. It's an action of Pan. And so Pan is a transition of Mercury or Venus going across the sun, but it's the opposite of Zeus. When a planet goes behind, all the outer planets, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, they'll never pan. They'll never go across the sun. The sun goes across them, and that's Zeus. They're diving behind the sun, Zeus. And that's the death and then the rebirth when it comes out the other side. And so this knowledge of Pan and Mercury and Venus is ancient knowledge of the sailors. And it's hidden in here in this story as in to know the knowing of good and evil. So in this interlinear Bible that it starts God shapes man at 2:7. And in this Byzantine Bible, that line 7 is the last line of the creation of man. And the only difference is here is this word Labon. And Labon, is when you're shooting stars, you get your astrolabe out. You don't have to say astro because people that understand know you're talking about the stars. You just say lab for short, Labon. To Labon is the action of shooting. And that word is just not here. But it starts to the place in, Plasen. To the place in, complacent in your place. To the place and see those ton. Ton is it on, or the tone, or the tan. In its tone and its sound. On thereupon shone, Xchoun, shone Labon. And so that Labon, like I say, it was just added. It wasn't in the original. In the original that was shown away those goes. How the planets turn, away those goes. And you can see it with this mark above here. Lets me know that that's a THOS, those goes. And then when, the key is a vav. And sometimes it's an and, sometimes it's two, and sometimes it's just a W or a U or a V. And so it's when, W-E-N. Same as in the Hebrew, when is in the cycle, E-N-E, the cycle of life. When fuses in this too. Force upon, pro is for. Anti, against, and pro is for. Force upon, what to upon, no on, Zeus, when it travels behind, opposition. And again to see on their oppose, on their opposition, behind the sun. This suction turns, Susan, lazy Susan sits on your table and turns. The suction turns. And so, it says he breathed, and he breathed into his face, so, and the fuses in. When it fuses in, it dives into the sun. It fuses in. This next line starts this first paragraph in here, the planting of the garden. And you can see it's different. Here it's two equities in. See those? And here it's two equities in carriers. See those? And you see how one word makes a difference. This is the word they say is Lord. Here it's to the equities in, see those, and here it's to the equities in carriers, see those. And so what they're doing is they're totally switching, the ones planting to the ones owning the equities of the property. And so equities comes from, the old Greek word equity, meaning equal, and fair and impartial, equal treatment. From the Latin equal. And so, it's like a sharecropper. Your equities in planting or your equities in carrying. In the stockbrokers selling equities. And the other thing that's different here is the Eden. In this Bible, it's Edom, E-D-E-M. So two equities in, see those. Two equities in carriers, see those. The parade is on. Parade is on. Parade is on. And so who's happy? Is it the carriers or the planters that's having a parade? And parade comes from para, protection of days on. And so they used to have this ancient holiday where we still have it today. We call it Mardi Gras, Fat Tuesday, where we have parades and we all dress up and act like we're royalty, like we're the king, get drunk and act stupid. And we got ancient times, they had protection of those days on. You get away with whatever on those days, but if it went over that day, you don't get wise to the carriers, to the lords. Don't get wise to them because you'd be in jail. You only get away with it on the parades on. It's where your word parody comes from and your word parade. You see in all these Egyptian tomb paintings, there's always a parade going on. It looks like the parade going down Bourbon Street, carrying the coffin. We always dress up floats for the parade. And we imitate the kings, the royalty is what we do in Mardi Gras, Fat Tuesday. We go out there and we impersonate the royalty, the blue bloods, and we act drunk and silly like they do. They're all dressed up and they're pulling the float. But, this is where your word parodies come from. It's a parody for the ones that don't know. A parasol protects you from the sun. It also means at one side, your protection, your bodyguard, the side. So, they got us thinking that paradise, is a place where you got everything. Easy life, but, it's, you got protection the days on. So this en, it just replaces the b that's in the Hebrew, and it means in, or it can be read as a b. And that's why they had to change the word from Edom here to Eden. Because here it's the two equities in see those, para, the protected days on bedding, and here it's the equities in carriers, see those, the protected days, bed them. So one is in the bed and one is bedding them. To aid and abet, to bed them. And so the parade is on. Bedding according to Anatole as. And so Anatole isn't the east. Anatole is the sunrise. Anatolis, meaning sunrise, Anatole. And so this, comes from according to, on the sky at, where's the sky at, told us. And that means, everything was according to the stars. And where the sun rose at, that's where the sky, the star, the last bright star you saw before the sunrise, that was the ruler. That was the house of the sun. He was in that house. You couldn't see the stars after the sunrise, but it was that last star that you saw before the sunrise. So you look to the east, but by no way this means east. It means the sunrise, it told us. The star, the on, it told us. And so this key, just like this N being a B, this key is a W, and this reads Wethetto, 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 and this EK, the same as this key and the same as this, it reads as a L. And so Anatolis, Wethetto lay it on. And, the tone is like its position. You play music and tones don't have their position. They belong in a certain frequency, and if you go out of that frequency, you're no longer in that tone. The tone is the tone of color. It changes. It means it's one certain little place is the tone. To lay the tone. On thereupon. The tone on the sky thereupon. On the place. And you see this one's different here. On the place in. E-N. And it's sanity lin of those. To see those, of those, those. It's sanity lin of those. It till, or it tie of those goes pan. So they try to say pan means every or all, usually something like that. And they changed a million books in order to get that. But pan means to get around. You panhandle. You sing and try to get everybody to gather around. You play your pipes. Pan. But the parentage of Pan is unclear. Generally he is the son of Hermes. And so it's not the sun, but he gets around. It's Hermes going around the sun. And he's famous for his sexual powers. He got around. A pan girl is a woman who gets around. Here it is, several men. So several isn't all, it's around. She gets around. And they're totally trying to hide that meaning. So to its sanity lin, EX. It's X sanity, ETSAN, it's sanity, to X sanity. It lend, just to lend it. Those, it till those goes around Zulon. Xulon, Zulon. And so this Zulon, they say is wood, anything made of wood, a piece of wood, a club, staff, the trunk of a tree, used to support the crossbar of a cross or crucifixion. It's the upright. You see this, sometimes they say it's clubs, cross, stocks, tree, wood. But stocks are the Zulu, is the crossbar. The Zulon is the upright, and this Zulu is the cross. It's the part that you get nailed to. Zulu is also like a stockade where they clamp your head and arms and feet in. And so this tells me, this beautiful tree here, it tells me that a Zulon is like totem pole. And a totem pole, it puts out a message. It tells, hey, this is the area of the clan of. And the Indians knew how to read this. They know whose area this was. And this word totem pole, it comes from the ancient English, what they call Hebrew language. It's to mark them. EM is them, the life from them. ETHEM, them, to mark them. And that's what the pole's used for, to mark them. Who's that clan? It's on their totem pole. And it's sanity lend of those it till those goes around the totem pole, the Zulon or Rayon, array of not just beautiful, but array of beautiful things. An array, an impressive display or range of a particular type of thing. An array of your spirit animals. Those goes pan around Zulon, array on this Orizin, to call on, the spirits to call on, where your calendar come from, the days, what to call on this bruising. You have to, it's like reading the signs. Same as this, I'm reading, trying to figure out the brew in these letters, or in the pictures, to call on this bruising. And to Zulon, and to Zulon, and to the posts, this Zeus. And so that's why I use the other Bible. I can't tell if it's those or this. There's those. To Zulon, those Zeus, to cut the end. To cut the end goes behind the sun. Zulon, those Zeus in. The middle to Miso, middle to parade is of. The middle to the parade is of, the protection days of. What to Zulon, to. And this is like TOO, to, as in connected to. To involve, connect, to. TOO. What to the post. What to the post, to. They deny Noston, the call of uponer of. They deny the knowledge on, the call of uponer of. And so this reads much different in this Bible, and all the words might be the same, but it has extra punctuation marks here that have you read some of these words backwards. But what this saying is, uponer of the Zulon. And so it's talking about the astrology, but it's also telling a story about the Garden of Eden, where everybody had these posts marking their territory, the Zulon post. And I talked about in that last movie, the Hermes post. Array on this auras to. The call on this, the call, what's written on it. It's like a signpost on the crossroads. Main Street and Broad. And the call on this bruising, what to the Zulon, this Zeus in the middle to protect days of. And to Zulon, to they deny the Nostan, the call of, to the call of uponer of. And so they're denying knowing how to read the call of uponer. Oh, is that your signpost? Does that say do not enter? I didn't know. And so now you know the knowledge of good and evil. Now you can read. So we all know the knowledge of good and evil. We can read those posts. No trespassing, bad dog. So this is a Zulon post. And this is a Zulu. And you put this at the corner of your property. This is a property marker. And it says no trespassing. It says the family, the familia. That's new, knows the pack of honor. And so this is an older writing. This is an older Greek one. This was the R. It's the same R that was on the drachma, the old money. And this was a P back then. And so possibly a lot of those writings, when they tell us it's an R, it's actually a P. But the older writing, this was the P and this was the R. This is the L of, and the pack of honor. The family that's new knows the pack of honor. You know, this is a hermstone, you know, called the Mercury, the Mercury. You know, the messenger, to carry the message. Carry a message. Hey, this is my gnome. You know, they were used to mark boundaries of lands. The hermstone. And they were thought to ward off harm or evil or trespassers. You know, you see it on this ancient money, the Drach, D-R-H, D-R-E. And this is the owl, and it's spelled in the Hebrew, you know, O-W-L. And they'll say it means a long time, you know, owl, wise old owl. So this word Anatole, as, you know, they say is east. We see this as sunrise, and that still doesn't mean that's what it means. You know, it's on atoll as. And so this is an atoll. You know, it's an island. It's just the outer shell of an island. And straight above it up here is the star of Atlas in here. Atolus, Atlas. And so at that time, this was probably the planting season, the prayed out to planting season, because this is the star that marked the flooding of the Nile. And I'm sure that this green in here, you know, the color of aggro, is a code in here on Virgo. And this is the river that runs through. And so this is Mesopotamia here. You see this that's in the middle of the river, where the river goes around it. You know, and that's south of Giza here. You know, these are the three stars that mark the pyramids. And this is the Sphinx out there by the water. And so the river's running this way. And so this river represents the Milky Way. You know, the thick group of stars. This line here, this is our ecliptic. And it's always changing. You know, it's constantly moving. This high is moving in this direction. And this is our galactic plane. This is where the mass of all the galaxies sit. So you could tell in this Byzantine Bible that this is starting a new paragraph over here at 10. And it's, you know, and a river goes forth from Eden, the Potamos. And it's real easy to see what it's saying in the Hebrew, because this word for river is veneer, V-N-E-R. A veneer, the outer covering, the outer limits of something is its veneer. Veneer, it's so modin. Modin is purpose of, the mode in it. Less foot, tang the gin. Less foot, tang, you know, the water, you got less footing. And the tang, the serpent's tongue, again, the tang. And so that's telling me it's a piece of property over here, you know, because less foot of the tang of the serpent's split tongue here. And so this Potamus doesn't necessarily mean river. It means fresh water. You know, on the boat, you know, we got salt water we use for wash down and fire pumps. But we use potable water, you know, as fresh water. Potamus, a hippopotamus. You know, a hippo they say is horse. And the potamus is the water, the freshwater horse. Hippopotamus. Alright, this is pretty long here, and I'm gonna make this in parts, and I'll start reading this 10 and the gnome of the fish, and how we know it's talking about the fish here. and which fish it's talking about. And this other word in here that has a hidden meaning that they totally changed. And this ancient cure carbuncles that they're trying to hide. You know, anthrax and a carbuncle are almost the same. They appear to be the same. And you could check out all these gnomes here on Wikipedia. Just Google gnomes, and it has a list of not all of them. There's some missing, but the southern gnomes or the northern gnomes, and the southern gnomes are here. These are the southern ones. Is all up the river here. All right, I'm gonna cut this off here. Good day.